the mindset, their mental toughness is going to allow them to reach their goals. And at some point, it's going to trump their physical toughness. And we can see that across like all consistent high performers, especially like in backcountry hunting, but in any area of life, like the people that are consistently achieving their goals, it's a mindset thing, not a physical thing. So I love that you guys are diving into that. What's been kind of your favorite part about tackling that this year?
We've talked about all different aspects of hunting in the backcountry, right? So we haven't neglected mindset per se, but we definitely have had a focus on it more recently for a bunch of reasons.
On the show today, we have Mark, who's the brand manager at Exo Mtn Gear. Mark, how do you pronounce your last name?
As long as you say it fast and confident, you'll get it right enough, because even within my family, people say it different, but I say Huelsing.
Huelsing. I
Yeah.
know. You would think Huelsing if you slow it down.
Yeah. I mean, that works too.
Yeah.
Like I'll answer to almost anything.
Nice. So Mark is the brand manager at Exo. Exo is a small group of hunters that design lightweight load hauling pack systems for backcountry and mountain hunting, and they build their packs exclusively in Idaho. He's also the host of the Hunt Backcountry Podcast, which has been publishing weekly for a decade, and he loves to explore the outdoors, whether on a quick hike or mountain bike ride close to home, or as you'll see in a lot of his content, some 10-day extreme remote wilderness backpack hunts. Mark, I'm stoked to have you on the show. I know we've chatted before and ran into each other before at different events over the years, but I'm really excited to kind of like dive into some of the stuff you and Exo have been working on recently, and even like the narrative of your conversation, what you've been talking about. It seems like there's been like a recent shift in your narrative around like men becoming better men, and not just physically, but a lot of it mentally. So I'm excited to dive into that.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. I was telling you, with having a podcast, I'm pretty comfortable as a host, but rarely am on the other side of the mic, if you will, being interviewed. But yeah, man, excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. How long have you been doing the Hunt Backcountry Podcast?
We started it in 2015, so pretty early on, kind of in podcasting in general, but especially with hunting podcasts, there weren't too many. And it was, I mean, Steve and I, with Exo, decided to start this podcast just because we were having conversations with people we knew that we personally found it interesting or helpful, right? Like we're always learning from other folks. And it was like, man, there's so much good stuff, and we've met cool people. It'd be fun to share it. And so we didn't, I mean, this was early enough in podcasting, there wasn't as much information about like, oh, how do you start a podcast, right? But just realized it was pretty dang easy. And I think in those early days, we were just using Skype. And it was before I worked for Exo full time. And so I had a day job. I was doing a lot of stuff with Exo Mtn Gear outside of that. And then we decided to start the podcast. Like the only available window we could do it was at night at like 9 p.m. And so I'd, work all day, get the kids home, get them to bed, and then fire up Skype at 9 at night and start having hunting conversations.
Man.
And yeah, that was 2015. And we've been doing it really consistently since July 2015. So almost 11 years.
That's impressive. That's awesome. Especially
Yeah.
especially you guys just kind of like stick into your mission and stick into your beliefs and your morals and ethics and character. Recently, we were actually just having this conversation before hitting record on this one, just with our team here internally. And it is kind of like sad and frustrating how, now if we look at 2026, big shows, especially big shows outside of the hunting industry, it is kind of like the rage clicks are driving tremendous
Hmm.
volumes of viewers and listeners, like volume levels that are really like astronomical, where it is some of the largest media in the world is being driven by podcasts, and some of those
Hmm.
podcasts are specifically controlling the narrative of their topics around rage and doom and fear, and that does kind of create this monster, and they have to continue to feed that
Hmm.
monster. But guys that have just kind of been doing the right thing for the right reasons for the long haul are are out there. And I think like you guys have been one of those groups where it's like, let's talk about the things that are really important to, like the backcountry hunter, the backcountry athlete, the guy that wants to put some adventure in their life and go on some amazing trips. You guys have done a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think one thing that's unique with us is we don't monetize the podcast at all. So we don't have any advertisers or sponsors. And we're also not viewing it as something that needs to be financially lucrative, right? So it frees us up to go, hey, we don't have to be the biggest, or we don't have to have the most attention, or we don't have to go viral as long as we're adding value to an audience, like the right people will find it and benefit from it. And so we have stayed pretty focused on, the name implies it's what we love to do is hunting in the backcountry. And that has a lot of tentacles, right? It could be very hunt specific stuff. It could be the physical component. It could be mindset. It could be gear. We like bringing in people outside of the hunting, not only the hunting industry, but I mean, we'll have non-hunters on the show because they can provide unique perspective, right? But yeah, from a high level, it's like what you said about the intention and the outrage and controversy for controversy's sake. Like we don't have to deal with any of that, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's not our goal at all.
Yeah. And that seems to
Yeah.
be, would you say that's like connected to the DNA of EXO, where EXO as an organization, do you guys have like meetings and conversations around your mission and values being, hey, let's just do the right thing and let's like make long-term decisions over doing the right thing. We're not making like short-term decisions trying to flip this thing, or we're not making short-term decisions trying to have like a great profitable quarter. It seems like from my perspective on the outside, you guys are you are a rare breed in America entrepreneurship today. That's just like, let's just do the right thing over like a 100-year goal versus a 7-year goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I almost can't say it better than what you just said, but that is very true in the sense of um, one, the hunting market like is pretty small. The hunting industry, if you will, is pretty small. And we probably seem pretty big in that, which is great. But in all reality, we're still like 8 full-time employees, no outside influence, no investors, no board, no whatever. So when you say like, do we have meetings? I almost chuckle because like we have conversations. Like even doing the bio, when I said I'm the brand manager, I don't know what my job title is. I don't have one, right? We don't have like there's almost nothing corporate about us. And I'm not saying that like that's bad, but it to your point is we're not trying to scale or be the biggest. And we do have a very long-term vision. And we really just say at the end of the day, our whole focus is on like build the best possible product. And for us, that's stayed very focused on lightweight load hauling pack systems.
Mm-hmm.
So build the best product and then take care of our customers as best as possible. And it's like if we do those things, everything else that's going to take care of itself. Um, because we're much more focused on longevity than we are growth, right? Um, it's we're almost in this weird spot of like trying to control growth in a certain way because the things as we've grown, like we Exo started in 2014, so we're over a decade in, and it's been growing every year. But we're also realizing that the things that got us here are really hard to scale
Mm.
or to replicate. And we would much rather say, hey, this is who we have been for a decade and this is who we want to be. And that almost has its limits to like how big it can go or how big it can get. And we're kind of okay with that, which is like weird to say. It's like, I don't know if we actually want to get much bigger, right? But we just, yeah, it really does, even from a product perspective, like we're really focused on making the best product. And to do that, you end up saying no to a lot of stuff and you end up not releasing stuff often, right? Like we joke a lot about the boat companies and we have great friends with boat companies, but this idea that
Every
you can
year.
come out with a new boat every year and it's been engineered and it's better and it's, like game changing. It's like that doesn't actually exist. Like it takes time to truly develop things and engineer things and test things and validate things. And that's one thing that's really important to us is not just to design something that's like, oh yeah, that looks cool or has a neat feature or would probably be appealing to the market. Like our whole thing is like we have to put it in the field and test it and validate it. And that just takes a lot of time. So yeah, I could talk for a long time about that stuff, but yeah, you're right in the sense of we're very product focused, we're very customer focused, and like that's not just rhetoric, like that really just is who we are and what we want to be and
Hmm.
whatever that means for the business. Like from a longevity perspective, we know it's going to do well. From a size perspective, it honestly has some limitations. Yeah.
For more than a century, America's sportsmen and women have led the way in paying for the restoration of wildlife, conserving habitat, and investing in the future of our natural world. This is a legacy built not on what we take ourselves, but on what we give back. That's the nature of conservation, paying it forward for the next generation. This is the reason Mountain Tough is a proud partner of Wild Sheep Foundation, an organization committed to keeping and putting wild sheep on the mountain. If you're not already a member, learn more today at wildsheepfoundation.org. And where do you guys actually land and how do you actually communicate where you sit on like the American made side of the conversation?
Yeah. It's, I mean, for us, we've invested even more in that. Like very practically, when Exo started, prototypes were sewn in a garage type story, right? Like we've all heard of the, oh yeah, we started a business in a garage, and quite literally, there was a pink sewing machine in a garage that built the prototypes of the very first packs, like going back to um, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014 was the first year we were actually selling packs. And our production partner became a sew shop in Boise, where we're based. And so they've always been sewn and built in the US and source every bit of material we can in the US. And I can talk more about that in a second. But the long story short, as we've grown, we've taken more capacity from that sew shop, right? Like we started as a couple dudes building backpacks and building, it's like, hey, we need to build a couple hundred backpacks. And that's obviously grown to being thousands. And so it's
Mm.
needed more production capacity. And in the fall of 2024, we actually purchased that sew shop outright. So we went from being, a very big client at a sewing partner to essentially going, hey, we really want to take full control of this process. Can we actually purchase the entire sew shop? And so we're heavily invested in making everything here in the US, keeping everything here in the US. I think the last time I looked at materials, there's like 11 different states involved with supplying raw materials. So when you start to look at all the components of a pack system, you obviously have everybody thinks of the fabric, um, which is key, but all the internal stuff, right? Every foam, all the
Mm.
buckles. We obviously use several different fabrics. And it really is, I mean, we benefit largely from the fact that there's military infrastructure that on pack systems specifically, things like 500D Cordura,
Yeah.
that there are phenomenal fabric mills in the US, because you can get 500D Cordura overseas, but there's great mills that do that in the US as well. So yeah, I mean, we, from our carbon fiber stays to our foams to our fabrics, we get as much from the US as possible. Um, we're always happy to be fully transparent. So, like, where stuff gets really weird is like the best zipper company in the world's YKK.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody knows anything about from packs to apparel to luggage to anything, like a YKK zipper is the zipper. And they're an interesting company. They have US production, they're a Japanese company. So they have US production, they have Japanese production, things like that. And their product line, they'll make certain things in the US, but not all of it. And so a really like transparent example is our YKK zipper is partially constructed overseas and then finished in the US.
Hmm.
And while we would love to say, hey, let's do a YKK zipper that's fully in the US, the matter of fact is they're the best zipper for our application
Yeah.
involves some overseas production, right?
Yeah.
And so we take the line of like, this is truly a better product and better solution. There's still US labor involved in part of it, but not 100%, right? So, yeah, we're super heavily invested in US. Like everything is sewn in the US. The vast majority of our raw materials are coming from the US, and having full control over that life cycle is really important to us from a quality perspective, just because at the end of the day, a couple things. One is we have a lifetime guarantee, but we never want to use it, right? Like the last thing we want is to deal with warranty issues, and thankfully we generally don't.
Yeah.
But more importantly than that, man, is like as hunters ourselves, we know what we are doing with our pack systems and what we want our customers to do. And no one wants a hunt affected by a gear failure, right? Especially when it comes to packing out an animal and dealing with heavy loads and all that stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really rewarding to be fully confident, like in the product, not just from a design perspective or a materials perspective, but like a use case perspective, because we're out there doing all the stuff all the time ourselves, and so we just have that direct understanding of why we're designing the product a certain way and then how it's being used, and hopefully that comes across to everybody using our stuff.
I love the conversation because I've actually thought a lot about this, and we've had some conversations about this on this show, even with like Pete, the founder of Origin, who's operating up outside of Maine, and the production that's happening in Maine and the U.S. manufacturing he's trying to bring back to the United States for via Origin, and all the work that he's had to put in to kind of make that happen. In those conversations, it's really amazing because from my perspective, it's kind of like the world history. If we look at world history, for thousands and thousands of years, most business was people doing the right thing, building high quality products out of necessity, and it was either their necessity or their community's necessity, and they were making decisions based off kind of that 100-year timeline of what's the best thing for the brand, what's the best thing for the customer, what's the best thing for our country, town, community, and neighborhood. That was kind of like the way business operated for thousands of years. And then it's only kind of in the last 40 years where more of the concept of build something short term to flip it has come into the worldview picture. And like that worldview picture hit our generation pretty hard. And so that concept over the last 20 years is talked about a lot. It's in a lot of different literature. It's deep in our industry. It's deep in the backcountry hunting industry. We've seen, most of the brands that our peer group is in, most of the brands that our friends, our really good friends, work for, have all been more on that short-term cycle of like build, grow, sell, build, grow, sell. And we can see just from like the glimmer of our industry that it really hasn't gone well. It hasn't
Hmm.
treated like it hasn't been good for the customers. It hasn't been good for the community. It hasn't been good for the country. And the continuation of that brand after the flip and sale generally has not gone very well either. And now, like watching that over the course of my lifetime, I've completely like changed the perspective of how like I want to communicate to my children. And because like when I came out of college and entered like my Mountain Tough season, the idea of growing something to sell was really all anyone talked about. And now when I have conversations with like my girls who are gonna enter the world soon, I have a lot more conversations with them around like, look, I think it's much better. I think it's much healthier. I think it's healthier not only for you, but for the community, your customers, and the country to think about business of like, let's do the right thing for the right reasons, even if it takes a really long time. And
Hmm.
that's what I want them to learn and feel based off everything I've seen. And it sounds like that's what you guys are doing. But what you guys are doing is so rare. Like that, even if you look at the country outside of our industry, the businesses that are just like, hey, let's not worry about being huge. Let's not worry about grow. Let's just kind of worry about building something that's extremely high quality. And if we build something that's extremely high quality, the right people are going to find us. Like
Yeah.
there's not many examples of that out there anymore. So I think it's amazing what you guys are up to. 10 years ago, we kicked off the Backcountry Preseason Prep program. It was a straightforward 80-day program built from thousands of hours testing with dedicated backcountry hunters. Now, with a full decade of real results, we've completely rebuilt it into Preseason Prep 3.0. We've added more aggressive metabolic conditioning, smarter load progression, tougher mental finishers, and even better programming to help hunters build that unbreakable grit for high country, heavy packs, and long days in rough terrain. It is still the same mission, getting you stronger and mentally tougher for the backcountry. It's just taken to the next level after 10 years of honest feedback from hunters in the field. Preseason Prep 3.0 launches May 4th. If you are serious about this fall, it is worth checking out. Mountain Tough Podcast listeners always get 6 weeks for free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do to take advantage of that is use the code MOUNTAINPOD at checkout. That's MTNPOD on your monthly membership.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's like you said, it's the right people because I mean, we're happy to admit that it's not for everybody. And nor like does every hunter need our pack, right? So that's one thing that is interesting is realizing we make a very specific product for what is in all reality like a pretty specific need of guys who are backpack hunting or hunting in the backcountry who are packing, heavy loads long ways. And if you take the hunting industry as a whole, it's like, okay, well, there's all these whitetail guys and tree stands. And I think in the Western market, we underestimate how many of those there are, right? And then we were
Mm-hmm.
just talking earlier before hitting record about you were traveling and was in an area and these guys are ate up with turkey hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the way most companies would go is like, man, we crushed it on a Western load hauling backpack. We can make a killer turkey pack, turkey vest. We could make a killer saddle hunting specific pack. We could make this. We could go bino harness. We could go whatever and build the thing and grow the thing. And we get the requests for all those. And we love that people essentially want to buy more stuff from us, meaning it's like, hey, I think you guys could make a great fill in the blank and I'd love to buy it. Like that sounds awesome. It can be hard to say no to, but again, that's what our strength has been is like, hey, we want to do this and do this as best as we can. And to keep innovating and keep improving and keep doing the best there, like we have to say no to a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, it really just is like our focus. And I think it's been our strength in a lot of ways, and it keeps it exciting too. Because while on one hand, there's a lot, there's always a lot. We had this conversation recently, like the difference between it's really exciting to build something. It's not too exciting to maintain something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can apply that in a lot of different ways. We are still really, really excited about how can we make this better? Like, how can we make a pack system lighter without compromises, without sacrifice? How can we increase performance and load hauling ability and shave weight? How can we take some, like a good example is going back to raw materials, like buckles, for example, and hardware in a pack. They're pretty much like order it out of a catalog. Like you go buy the buckle, whatever. It's like, hey, give me however many thousands of those buckles, and they're good.
Yeah.
But we've seen like, man, those buckles, for example, aren't designed by people who are doing what we do. And as weird as this sounds, we have some ideas for how a buckle could be better
Hmm.
from a performance perspective, a weight perspective, or a reliability perspective. And so right now, and it's been ongoing, but we're working with those production partners, but truly designing our own buckles. And that's expensive. And no one's going to do that unless they actually really care about, hey, we just want to do this and do it as best as we can type thing. So
Yeah.
um, we're still super, super excited about what's possible.
Well, and you guys, you had to make some hard decisions. Like leadership had to make some hard decisions that a lot of people would have fallen into those traps, and you guys have found a way to avoid those, which is pretty incredible. Like a decision around, hey, let's make a pack that is not as high quality but costs way less so that we can get into a way bigger market. Like
Mm.
the second you would have made that decision, like your brand could have 10x'd in size, but your brand would have never been the same because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have had like the tip of the spear product and the mid-market product can't really like coexist that well under the same brand umbrella, but it certainly would have created a massive growth opportunity. And saying no to that has been incredible to watch. And then, a lot of people say yes to that because they have taken the previous yes, which is bringing on investors. And bringing on
Mhm.
investors, then it's like, well, we have to grow to make these investors happy. So we have to do things we normally wouldn't do. And the ability to kind of like hold your guys' line and say no to that stuff, say no to a lot of that's peer pressure too. Like, hey, we had 8 employees 4 years ago and we have 8 employees now. Shouldn't we have 16 or 20 or 30? Like
Right.
avoiding a lot of that, the peer pressure and trying not to get sucked into what everyone else is doing. That's impressive. You guys have held that line.
Yeah. I mean, if you take business out of it, take honey nut, like take all that and just, we almost don't realize how much we're inundated with more is better, just in everything, right?
Everything.
Like
Yeah.
if this is good, then more of that's going to be good. It's like, no, that's not true, right? But I mean, I love our country and everything else, and we're a product of that in so many great ways. But like in this cultural moment, and it's been this way for a while, we default to that assumption, like that more is better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just don't think that that's true in a lot of cases. So once you reach like a certain point, um, I mean, you can pick that with diet, you can pick that with exercise, right? Like I was just having this conversation recently with somebody that they were talking about like a pretty extreme physical thing, and there's a point where this dose is healthy and this dose actually isn't, right? So
Yeah.
take running, right? Like the guy who needs to get in shape, him running X miles a week is fantastic. These guys who are running hundreds of miles in a single event, that's not about health anymore. It's like counter health. It's about
Hmm.
performance, which is fine. But that's just like an example of like more is not actually always better.
Yeah.
Um, and our thing, like it does go back. I think so much of it goes back to timeline too, of what you said. There's so much that could be attractive in the short term, but if you think about it long enough, doesn't isn't valuable in the long term,
Mm.
basically, right?
Yeah.
So just always remember, more is not better. Having a long term mindset, and again, I'm not just saying this about like Exo or business, but these are things I keep having to remind myself of, right? Like just in day to day life, is to think long term and realize that more is not always better. Like sometimes enough actually is enough.
I've noticed that if the gear you're using isn't reliable, it's much easier to back off early and quit. GoRuck's products hold up, and at Mountain Tough, rucking has become an essential aspect of our programming. Rucking combines cardio and resistance training, burning up to 3 times more calories than regular walking while strengthening your joints with very little impact. It also boosts VO2 max, bone density, and it makes it an efficient, science-backed way to improve overall fitness. The Rucker 4.0 is purpose-built for rucking, featuring elevated plate pockets to keep weight high and stable reinforced construction. GoRuck is offering 20% off their products for Mountain Tough Podcast listeners. All you need to do is use code Mountain Tough Community. That's MTNTOUGH Community when checking out at GoRuck.com. All right, back to work. Yeah, I know. And we are bombarded about the opposite of that 24/7 across like all cultural and media platforms. And so
Mhm.
even when we like can rein it back into more of like a simplistic lifestyle, you still have to like fight off the urges of
Yeah,
everything else 24/7, because anything that we run into is going to tell us the opposite of that. So it's
yeah,
it's like the discipline of it over the long term is a factor for sure.
yeah. It's like there's an undertow, it just keeps trying to like suck you out
Yeah.
into the ocean of more. And it's like, no, I'm actually good here.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's shift into a little bit of, on your show, you've spent quite a bit of time this year diving into like mountain mindset and mental performance, and had more of a shift around like training your mind like you would train your body, managing stress in high stake environments, and performing when things go sideways. I love that, just because like Mountain Tough for us since the beginning, it's like our philosophy has been to help people reach their goals. We are going to help them with their physical performance, but more importantly is their mental performance, because we know that
Mhm.
it's like the mindset, their mental toughness is going to allow them to reach their goals. And at some point, it's going to trump their physical toughness. And
Yep.
we can see that across like all consistent high performers, especially like in backcountry hunting, but in any area of life, like the people that are consistently achieving their goals, it's a mindset thing, not a physical thing. So I love that you guys are diving into that. What's been kind of your favorite part about tackling that this year?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about going back to the beginning, like all different aspects of hunting in the backcountry, right? So we haven't neglected mindset per se, but we definitely have had a focus on it more recently for a bunch of reasons. We did something in 2024 and we called it the Experience Project, and we had these high level hunts in the fall of 2024, and then the goal of the Experience Project was, hey, we're gonna do these hunts, we're gonna film them, we're gonna share it. But leading up to those hunts, we were trying to share content of how we plan for those hunts, how we prepare for those hunts, just as an example to help people. And then we wanted to make that even like more tangible, more practical this year. So we launched something called the Experience Challenge. We purposely kept it kind of small, but it was like, hey, let's get a group of people, ended up being about 1,500 people who are committing to doing these challenges. And some of them they knew in advance when they signed up, some they didn't.
Hmm.
But just to go more practical with that group, And some of those guys are going to win like once in a lifetime sheep hunt and stuff like that. But
That's awesome.
anyways, as part of that, we've been doing that with this group. We've been doing content to help people in the group, the broad podcast audience. And one of the first things we had people do, the first challenge we had people do, um, was to do a hunt plan and reflection. And it was probably the least interesting on the surface challenge, right? Like a tough workout or a shooting thing or whatever. Like that's tough but fun.
Yeah.
The first thing we had them do was like, all right, you need to sit down with this form we give you and like take time to reflect on where you're at as a hunter, where you've been, what's led to your success, what's been your struggles, what actually has been your experience around mindset and fitness and gear and whatever. And it's interesting to get all that data back. And we haven't been reading them one by one, but we've been able to summarize it and see the themes and to see how much mindset has come up from those guys,
Hmm.
either for their success or for their failure, right? Like the number one theme from talking to 1,500 hunters of why they didn't have success in the past was either quitting early or lack of persistence. And it was, if you drilled down within that, guys were talking about how basically they just small things snowballed and became cumulative
Yeah.
and then shifted their mindset. They went negative, they stopped, right? So the small things could be like, oh, this weather sucks. The hunting pressure's too much. I didn't sleep good for 2 nights. I haven't seen the animals I've wanted to see. It's like all these little things snowball, change someone's mindset, and the next thing you know, they're either not hunting hard or they're flat up packing up and going home,
Yeah.
right? And so I mean, and we've, in our personal experience as hunters, just seen, I think there's a switch that flips when you do some hard hunts or you endure through some difficult conditions and you have a hunt that comes together like on the last minute or the last night or on day 10 of day 10 or all
Yeah.
that stuff. When you've lived that as your experience, that creates a belief that it's one thing to say it's like, oh, when you're hunting, anything can happen at any moment.
Hmm.
Anyone can say that.
Yeah.
When you've lived it and you truly, like in your heart of hearts, believe that, it shifts everything, right? And so it's just mindset is so critical to persistence and hunting and life and whatever that your actions ultimately are a product of your beliefs.
Yeah.
And so if you can shift your mindset and shift your beliefs, your actions are going to follow. Um, and so yeah, that's just been it's difficult with mindset to communicate it or to explain it or
Hmm.
um, because it is a choice on one hand, but it also when if you're full of crap. Like you can only fake it till you make it so far because internally I'm actually faking it right now.
Yeah.
And so it's I think pairing experience and intentional exposure to difficult things and overcoming them that like is progressive. I mean, it's just like training, right? Training's progressive. People start from different places. They push like just past their limits, they recover. They push just past their limits, their stimulus, they recover. That same thing happens with mindset. That same thing happens with hunts. I mean, there's hunts that I've done in the last 3, 4, 5 years that if I would have tried that same hunt or been in that same situation over a decade ago, I wouldn't have done it. Like I would have
Yeah.
failed. I would have been physically incapable. I would have mentally thrown in the towel, what have
Yeah.
you. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's just, it goes back, I think, to like patience and intentionality, right? Like going back to timing and how much we're inundated with stuff is not everything's a quick fix. Not everything happens overnight. Um, but if you're just like really intentional about growing physically, mentally, whatever, like that can snowball for the positive as much as that can snowball for the negative.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's just, it's a, I think on one hand it is a fun topic to talk about, but honestly, more than that, it's just like as much as there is talk about, like we could do another podcast on gear, another podcast on elk calling, another podcast on whatever. Like if you don't have the right mindset, none of that stuff really matters.
I know. None of it matters at all. What's up, guys? Dustin here. As you know, good music in the gym for your workouts can change everything. The right music allows you to flip that switch and keep pushing when you need a breakthrough. We've been running the Turtle Box speakers for a while now, and these things are waterproof, tough, loud. These things are built like a tank. The Turtle Box Ranger is great if you're on the move. The original covers most days, and that's what you see around here. And the new Turtle Box Grande puts out some serious volume for big spaces. Check them out at turtleboxaudio.com. The mindset does determine your methods 1,000%. And so if your mindset is not in the right place, your methods are never going to line up. And like hearing your example, it made me think of it's fairly common for a friend that wants to come to Montana to elk hunt over like the course of my lifetime. If I think about like the last 20 years, occasionally this will happen where a friend is like, hey, I want to come out this September. I drew a tag. And you're like, heck yeah, that's awesome. You got a tag. Like, you're going to need to start training. This is going to be a lot different than turkey hunting in Missouri. So like, start training. This is going to be the real deal. And they're like, okay, got it. They start a fitness program. They're hitting it hard. And you're getting like everything ready. You're planning the trip. They're super excited. They've changed like their lifestyle, their diet, their shooting, their rucking. Everything is going great. They show up in Montana. You're like, all right, we're going to be back there for 10 days. Get everything on your back. This is going to be gnarly. I hope you're ready for this. Every now and then, not very often, but that guy, something crazy happens and they shoot like an elk on the first morning in the first 30 minutes. And every time that happens, I'm like, oh no, like you're like glad, you're excited for your friend, but you're also like, oh my gosh, like that is not good from like the mindset perspective, because the best thing that could absolutely happen for their mindset is it's like day 10, it's the afternoon of day 10. We haven't seen much. And like right before sunset on the 10th day, you're like out of food, you're out of water, you got to go home. You're going to fly back to your job the next day. And like a screaming bull comes in and you kill it. Like that is the best thing for your mindset that might change the next 20 years of your life. And so when you kind of like stumble into one right off the road 30 minutes in, and your buddy kills it, you are excited for your friend, but you're also like, oh, it does not go this way. It should not go this way.
Yeah.
Like, don't act like it's always going to go this way. And even me telling you that, like, I know your mindset won't be the same. And so it's like, how do you develop that without that happening? Because we all have friends. Most of us have friends that are like that guy that is not going to quit. They're not going to back down. They're not even going to slow down or take their foot off the gas until like hour 12 of day 10. And that guy that is foot on the gas till hour 12 of day 10 is so consistently successful, because they're not taking their guard down until it's over. And but for them to develop that, it's because they've seen miraculous moments on day 10. And so it's mindset stuff is wildly fascinating.
Yeah. I know that you guys have you have had, and I think maybe even more focus on like developing mindset as part of Mountain Tough. And there's ways that obviously you can apply physical training and reap benefits to your mental fortitude from difficult training. But it's also like, yeah, you also can't just do a 5 minute wall sit or a 45-minute hit workout. And that's not the same thing as like being tough on day 10, right? Like it helps.
Yeah.
But I guess like aside from a workout, what have you guys found to be helpful with people who are part of the Mountain Tough community in terms of them intentionally like strengthening their mindset?
I think outside of physical training, the number one thing that has had like long-term actual results that does not require a physical movement is identity work. I'd say is probably like the most powerful that I've seen, because the person whose identity is in the right place can kind of like stay on that mountain till day 10, and then that can also like transfer over into everything that they're doing in life. It become
Hmm.
it becomes like who they are. It's like the way I make this grilled cheese is the same way that I'm going to behave on everything else that I'm doing. Like I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it all the way to the finish line. I'm not going to cut any corners. And that all usually connects back to like their identity and who they want to be, like what they want to have on their obituary, what they want their friends to like say about them at their funeral. When they can kind of lock that in into the right place, then that seems to be the biggest needle mover I've seen outside of like all the things you can learn through the adversity of physical challenges.
Yeah, that's good. That idea of deciding like I am the type of person that, right? Like I don't quit on hunts. If I whether I have, you know, today in 10 hours or whether I have 10 days set aside, like I am not done till it's done. I am the type of person that I do not quit on hunts.
Mm-hmm.
This is where things start for me personally. Like I fully am 100% believe the power of that. And then also part of me is like, man, that sounds like so woo-woo and weird and like
Yeah.
fake. But if you make that decision and like you said, set your identity and like, I am a person that fill in the blank. Again, if you believe that, your behavior is going to follow,
Yeah.
right? Um, that's a really good point on identity.
What has been like the full like kind of thought and curriculum and layout of the experience challenge? How have you guys kind of set that up?
Yeah, so it's we're learning a lot. We legitimately started having this idea in February and launched it a couple weeks later.
Oh, nice.
So it's like we fully were like, yeah, we're gonna figure this out. I mean, at the end of the day, our goal with it was um it's one thing to listen to podcasts and like hear about good stuff or good advice or have good information. And it's another thing to actually do something with that information and
Yeah.
to apply it, right? So we just really wanted to say, hey, everyone who enters this experience challenge, we're going to ask you to do certain things with the goal of becoming a better hunter, whatever that looks like for you, like whatever your starting point is. And so we just sat down to, based on our own experience as hunters, say, hey, what's the stuff that really matters and what doesn't, right? And let's create this challenge with some requirements so that people aren't just like hearing about things, they're actually doing them.
Hmm.
And so part of that has been physical, and part of it has been mindset, and part of it's really practical. An example of that would be, on the gear topic, like guys get caught up in, oh, this new whatever came out and it's 2 ounces lighter, or this new flashy marketing thing and whatever. And our whole thing with gear is like, man, you can have halfway decent gear and really good knowledge on what to do with that gear, and that guy is going to crush the person who has the latest and greatest perfect high-end everything,
Yeah.
but doesn't actually have like experience with applying it, using it in the field, knowing its strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. So yeah, long story short, in March we have a challenge, April, May, June. So there's like monthly challenges in each of those months. And then on top of that, we had three, we just call them like the big three challenges. But it's basically you can do these whenever you want. They're not tied to a specific month, but the whole deadline of this challenge is mid-July. So as long as they do those three bigger challenges by the end of mid-July, they will basically stay eligible.
Mountain Ops supplements keep you going steady. I've personally been on their Yeti pre-workout for clean energy without jitters, and their Hydrate to stay topped off during long days when you need those electrolytes. Creatine and protein are a staple for me for building and bouncing back. Plus, they have no junk, just real fuel. It's simple, reliable stuff that helps you push when it counts. Get 20% off Mountain Ops supplements at mountainops.com using code MOUNTAINTOUGH. That's MTNTOUGH. All right, now back to work.
The big three, there's one that's very shooting focused. Whether you're bow or rifle, we're kind of laying out some requirements. And really the idea there is to help hunters see that like it's great to go in your backyard and shoot. It's great to go to the range and get on the bench and shoot with a rifle, whatever, but you have to be really intentional about to become an effective, confident, capable shooter, you have to like push the edge of shooting in difficult situations and positions and have a stress element and all that. So we're
Yeah.
putting some boundaries around that. So there's a shooting challenge. There's a backpacking challenge, and it challenge is almost like not a good name for this one. We are simply, and we've said this a lot, guys ask us advice on like, hey, I want to become a better, specifically backcountry hunter. Um, and we've seen that so many guys are only in the backcountry for an extended period of time or even like an overnight during hunting season. And it's like you can separate backpacking and hunting and use the whole rest of the year when you don't have an elk tag or a deer tag
Yeah.
and become more capable and comfortable and confident just about backpacking and living in the backcountry and finding and filtering water. And one thing that we've seen and has helped us become more effective hunters is when we're on a backcountry hunt, we're not thinking about gear, we're not thinking about how to
Yeah.
survive, we're not thinking about any of that stuff, only because we have enough experience that all that stuff's dialed and we're just there to hunt.
Yeah.
But we've seen so much that guys are still like, oh, I don't know where to find or set camp. I don't know like how to set up my shelter in the rain or the wind. I thought this was going to be a great way to find and treat water, but it's not, and it failed on my hunt. Well, now your whole hunt is affected by something that you could have gotten experience with and quote unquote fixed
Yeah.
outside of hunting season, right?
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. All these have more requirements to them. And then going to the physical thing, we've been doing, we call them death hikes. The name started as a joke before it was a thing, but we've been for about 10 years grabbing a group of guys and every year trying to do locations change, logistics change, distances change, but we've just been doing what we call a death hike.
Yeah. You
And
guys have been
just
at
this
that for a
idea of,
while. It's awesome.
yeah. So it's just that idea of like, hey, what are the limits here? Like, can we go do this off-trail bushwhack thing in Alaska? Can we go do a rim to rim to rim to rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon? Can we do 100 miles in 3 days? It changes every year. So we wanted to create something like that for everybody, but going back to people are coming from different places, we like what's tough to one guy is not necessarily tough to another. And what's tough to one guy is legitimately impossible to another guy, or at least
Yeah.
not healthy. Um, so long story short on that one, we settled the minimum requirement. We just called it 24 and 24. So at a bare minimum, you got to cover 24 miles on your feet in under 24 hours. And for some guys, that's gonna be really challenging. And we've told other guys, like, if that doesn't scare you or
Bump it up.
challenge you or make you uncomfortable, like double it, or do something, right? So those are just examples. Yeah, again, part of it was like hunt reflections. We're just trying to take a pretty comprehensive look at whether it's developing skills with gear,
Yeah,
whether it's developing hunting knowledge and applying it, whether it's living in the backcountry, all that stuff. Let's make sure we're actually doing the thing and not just watching a video about it or listening to a podcast about it. And as part of that first step, that hunt reflection I mentioned, we also made guys choose a hunt plan. So it was like, hey, what is a hunt that you would love to do, but that's kind of feels a little bit out of reach. And I don't just mean by cost, but for some of these guys, it's like, man, they go out and they chase elk, but they're always back to the truck, or they've never been away from the truck for more than 48 hours. It's like, what would
mm-hmm.
it look like for you to actually commit to truly backpack hunting for 6 days or 8 days or whatever? So
Yeah,
the intent was everybody has a plan that challenges them. Now let's do some things that work towards that. And then that everybody participating reaps massive value from doing the challenge. And that alone should be enough. But also at the same time, at the end of this thing, we're giving away a Dall sheep hunt and a mountain goat hunt on Kodiak and a bunch of gear prizes that we haven't even told people about yet. So it's
that's
been cool
awesome.
to just to see the community aspect of it. We created via Discord just like a private group for everyone in the challenge to share ideas and ask questions, and that's been really neat as well. So
It's
yeah, it's we went from an idea to launching this thing in about 2.5 weeks, and it's been pretty cool.
it's a game changer, man, because everything has to be like practical, like you said, especially nowadays, the amount of knowledge that's out there. We have become kind of knowledge junkies, and it's just
Mhm.
not going to stick unless you practically apply it. And this is kind of like forcing that, like, all
Yeah,
right, take this wisdom and now like go test it for yourself in the field. And you have to complete this challenge if you want a chance at these prizes. But
yeah,
that's awesome. That's incredible.
yeah. It's been cool to see too that I mean we're just now finishing April. Um, and the number of comments and like positive messages we've gotten that guys are like, man, whether I go on this hunt, whether I win a sheep hunt or not, I'm only 4 to 5 weeks into this thing, and it's already been massively valuable. And
Dang.
all those guys still have more months of work they're going to be doing. So, but yeah, it's been really neat to see that, right? And I'm sure you guys see it all the time with Mountain Tough and all the testimonials, if you will, of like how the training helps and following this helps and
Yeah.
being able to help guys facilitate just growth, right? Like whatever that looks like, wherever they're coming from, if they're starting to be more intentional and making changes that not just make them a better hunter, but make them a better human, right? Make them more capable and confident in all areas of life. Like
Yeah.
pretty dang cool.
Yeah. It's cool. And it matters. I mean, it matters big
Yeah.
time. Are you guys still going to do the death hike this summer?
Yeah. And we're going to keep it, I mean, we always keep it pretty small. We get a lot of questions on, what are we doing? Can I join? And from a logistics and liability, it's tough
Yeah.
to like open up the net. But yeah, there's some peaks in Idaho, including Bora, which is like the highest point in Idaho, but some peaks you can string together. And it was kind of an unofficial death hike a couple of years ago during COVID that a group of guys went and did it, and a bunch of guys chickened out from exposure and stuff. And that's one thing. We did this with the Grand Canyon too, where we always want the death hikes to be difficult enough that not everyone can do them.
Hmm.
Like, and we invite a bunch of studs and we still want people to fail,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Um, but if there's like one we go attempt and like nobody crushes it and it got the best of everybody, then it's like, all right, let's go revisit that. So that's kind of the one that we're going to do in Idaho this year. We have some experience with those peaks. And like I said, we did that with the Grand Canyon. We went in there and the goal was to do 100 miles. So you're going like South Rim to North Rim, back to South, and just doing those repeats.
Dang.
And that first year, I mean, there was some logistical stuff, but I mean, there's always excuses, right? We got hit with a late snowstorm and guys were coming out of the canyon at almost 24 hours in a blizzard with no visibility. And guys who had finished were like worried about them. We hadn't heard from them. And like it got to be a pretty concerning situation from a
Yeah.
safety perspective.
Yeah.
Um, and long story short, no one did day two. And when that happened, it was like, all right, we got to
Got to come
get back
back.
and we got some work to do there. So,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, it's been cool. I mean, that's when you know it's good, right? Like if you go set this plan and it's like, oh yeah, I went and did it and crushed it, like, well, great, but what did you learn from always succeeding,
I
right?
know.
You learn more when you it's like, oh, huh, actually didn't do it here, but I think if I changed my training or had this different approach or whatever, like I think I could go back and crush it. So
Learn through
sometimes that's fun
failure.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to fail to learn.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, thanks, man. I appreciate you jumping on. It's been awesome to chat with you and hear more about what you guys
Yeah.
are up to. And I love what you guys have held the line on, like we started the conversation with. I mean, not many groups have done that. Not many guys have done that. Not many organizations have done that. And I know it's not easy. It's hard to do. And appreciate you guys and everything you've done for the industry.
Oh man, I appreciate that. It's cool to be here with you. And I mean, it's not lost on us that we can make whatever decisions we want from like a business perspective, but at the end of the day, it really just all is customer support, right? Like it's customers that are supporting us that make it happen. So we want to run it well and make good decisions for us and the longevity of the company, but ultimately, like it's a big deal to us when somebody's willing to invest in our product, like and trust it, right? Like take the money out of it. Yeah, like spending the money really matters and guys are making that decision. But whether you're spending your money or also just saying, hey, like I trust this pack to go do this thing in the backcountry and hopefully make some great memories and pack a bunch of meat. Like
Yeah.
we don't take that lightly. So yeah, appreciate everybody and all the support.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.